G'day boys. G'day boys, how's it going? Can anyone hear me? Oi oi oi, what's your list then? Says Ray Cone Mod in the chat. Welcome. Sigma Maxing, says Jimaholic. I don't know what that is. Sigma Maxing? What is Sigma Maxing? Can anyone hear me? As usual is my first question. I can hear you. Thank you, Ray Cone Mod. Bloody interesting YouTube handle you've opted for there. Let's get cracking straight into it. I'm not going to waste any more time. So, you should be looking at a PowerPoint slide, because that's what we do around here, right? PowerPoints. I yap in front of a PowerPoint presentation, and you watch and hopefully enjoy. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. Maybe you're a glutton for punishment, perhaps? I don't know. Anyway, little impromptu mixed bag stream, because why not? I was meant to stream yesterday and do one for the members only, for the absolute chads who sign up for the channel membership. Do a progress on the latest upcoming video, but got delayed a day, so I thought I would make it a all access mixed bag Rooney. And the topic, what we're doing, is movie camo tier list. Another tier list. He's back again with a tier list. I can't help it. I'm a sucker for him. But specifically, I wanted to talk about camo because I like camo around these parts. And I've done a few videos on camo and I can't stop, won't stop. So it's not the first time I've, dipped my toes into this topic, and it won't be the last, if you get what I mean. Okay. If you're new to these streams, I yap, I look at the screen, and I get locked in, right? So I'm not fully flow reading the chat. I'm not that good at it anyway. So I'll focus on the screen for a bit, do my thing, talk to the points, deliver the content, the information, and then I'll go to the chat and read some of the comments that you chaperoonies are putting in there, okay? So it's not going to be fully free-flowing back and forth to the chat. Otherwise, I'll lose my limited concentration abilities I have, and it'll just go forever, right? So if I lock in, it'll be more efficient for everyone involved. Let me jump down here on that note. CSRC is like the number 2 PowerPoint YouTube channel after Parent. What is it with Australians just running faceless PowerPoint channels? Kyle was such a babe. Yes, says Jimaholic. All right, let's bloody settle down. Let's settle down. Let's keep it PG rated. Back to the screen here, boys. So quick one on the stream situation, how it's looking at the moment. Sort of an update, I suppose. If you're, again, a time traveler from the future watching this in VOD mode or you're here live, welcome. Thank you, everyone, for being here live, by the way. I haven't said that yet. My gratitude to everyone. So we've got our 3 types of streams, and I thought I could neatly, now that I can neatly summarize them, I thought I'd explain them a little bit before I crack on. Pretty self-explanatory there, right? So type 1 is the planning room, but the so what of that one is that's the locked one, that's the members access one. The other 2, however, type 2 being the debrief, type 3 being mixed bag, these are going to be the public all access ones. I've explained it a few times before, but here we go again. The planning room one comes out before a video, and everything that goes on in those planning room streams supports the next video that's coming out. So if you're interested in a bit of behind the scenes, what goes into making it, you, I suppose in a roundabout way, are contributing through your ideas and back and forth in the chat for those guys who do participate in those planning room ones. Bloody Ryan's in the chat here, I noticed. G'day, mate. Thanks for jumping in. Who's been in quite a few of them, yarning back and forth. So the dudes who are active in that, it's very helpful for me as well. And I would hope that you're getting a bit of entertainment out of the behind the scenes stuff, because that's really the goal of those planning room ones. The debrief follows immediately after I release a video, so 1 week later, and then I go back and look at some of the comments and explore some of those trends. And mixed bag is this latest stream, what I'm doing. So the last one I did was that other tier list, and it was on Latin America, Gringos Gone Wild, action film tier list. So I thought I'd back it up with another adjacent tier list, I suppose, in that, cinema, that's the similarity in the topic. And then talking about camouflage, which is 2 things I appreciate a lot, and I feel a lot of viewers of this channel appreciate a lot too. Fernando. Sorry, boys. The cat, you know the drill. Okay, without further ado, let's crack. First one, setting a few ground rules, but as the saying goes, these are more like guidelines, really. And I'm known to stray beyond the lanes of my own rules from time to time. So, yeah, it's more like setting the scene, right? So, the camos that I'm covering are for the most part fictional only, as in well, that's poorly written now that I think about it. They're not fictional as in they don't exist in the real world because someone obviously made them, but they're specifically made for the film. In most of these cases, is a better way to explain this, and that's sort of the main criteria for this tier list, right? It's not just any time a camouflage pattern appeared in a movie, it's times where a movie used a specific bespoke camouflage pattern or uniform for the purposes of the film. I hope that makes sense. And yeah, that instantly explains it better than what I had written down, which is fictional only. That's silly. I don't know why I wrote that. With that being said, like I said, there are a few times I cheat. I bend the rules here, but I'll get into those as they appear and my reasons for doing so. Secondly, and the next 2 points are kind of tied together here, it's only films I've seen, and it's not an exhaustive list. I'm not asserting this is the ultimate camouflage fictional camo movie guide YouTube video. This is movies I have seen and that have a unique camouflage pattern created for the purposes of the film. And so for that reason, it's definitely not exhaustive. It's not every movie that's had a custom pattern made ever in the history of known time, but it's ones I have seen and are somewhat familiar with. And that's the main, well, not the main criteria, but that's sort of the main consideration for if a film is or isn't on this list. So there might be some that have been missed, and chances are it's for one of those reasons, right? I simply either hadn't seen it, or I don't even know about it. So yeah, if as we're going through this, you find something glaring that I've neglected to mention, please do chuck it in. And the final point on the ground rules here, it's not a super in-depth history lesson. I'm not an expert on all these patterns. I haven't done a hectic amount of background research into all of them. This is just me yapping as an enthusiast and consumer of Gucci camouflage patterns, as some of you may be as well. And if you do want to get into the more nitty-gritty side of the details, the history, then check out the references on the screen there. Camopedia, everyone should know about that. Pretty much Wikipedia, but for camo, as the name suggests. And Uniform History is a YouTube channel, does lots of good detailed deep dives on everything from movie camouflage to real world camouflage and the history of. So if you want the actual super detailed nuts and guts explanations, go and check those out, because that's not what I'm going to be doing here. I'm going to be pretty much vibing based on aesthetics, what I think looks sick, why I think it looks cool and good and sick, and ranking it as such, right? With a few other pretty much just subjective thoughts along the way as well. Would it actually be a viable or effective pattern? But mostly this is pretty much just me vibe ranking on what I think is cool based on a combination of would it work and yeah, does it just look sick? Hope that makes sense. So yeah, I'm not getting super educational on this one. This is vibey, but I think you still will pick something up. There might be a few, oh wow, I didn't know this movie had that kind of light bulb moments, and that's what I'm hoping to go for. What's my next slide? Is my next slide it? My next slide is it. Okay, so now I've got to faff about in OBS for a second here, lads. Give us 2 seconds, yeah? I've got to mute this one, and then you should be looking at, I just not muted. Mute but visual. Hid. I hid one PowerPoint, so now I've got the second PowerPoint. Let me pull that up. So what I've got here, boys, is a standard tier list kind of affair going on, you can see. I also have, oh no, I can scroll, cool. Hidden around the outside of the screen, I'll give you a little teaser here. I have other images which are going to, oh, you did see that when I scrolled up. No, I've ruined it all. Do I scroll back down? I've ruined everything. Let me scroll back and fix this. I'm looking at like the lag delay, trying to make sure that you can't see too much. I might have to redo the screen here a bit, boys. Or I'll just scroll up and down and steal those photos. But I've got reference images that I'll drag down and show you as well. So you can, oh, that's driving me nuts. There's that little white bar at the bottom. So you can get a better indication of the pattern than just the movie poster at play. Does that make sense? because obviously the movie poster's showing us what film it's from. It's not indicating or giving us much of a squiz at the pattern itself. Okay. Yes. Okay. Good. Let me just jump back into the OBS real quick. Yep, my speakers are still going. Okay, back in YouTube here. Nice minute for another live. Camouflage. It's so hot right now, says Jimaholic. Nice. Okay, back to the PowerPoint slide deck here, boys. Sorry, give me a second. Now, what can you see? Let me zoom out for a second here. Sorry, boys. I'm messing around with the visuals. If I zoom out one, does that mean you can see everything? I think it does. I think I've just cooked it again. 94% zoom. Can you see that? Yep, you can. I ruined it. I'm going to do it like that anyway. Now, you know what? I'm going back to 100%, and then I'll just go up and down and steal the pictures. Okay, so in chronological order, the movies we have down the bottom, and that's the only fair way, I suppose, I can go through them to yap about them in some sequence that doesn't seem biased. And first up, we have coming in, first cab off the rank, the one, the only Return of the Jedi. I'm going to put the small one over here. This is going to be like the holding pen. The holding pen for until I decide where to put them. Let me make this a bit bigger as well, so then I don't want this white stuff around the edge of the black screen. Return of the Jedi, of course, features the iconic, let me steal it, Endor camo. Look how handsome this man is. It's Harrison Ford. Endor camo, which bizarrely, time travelers will know this, or modern camo enthusiasts will know this. I'm going to delete that one because now we know what it is. Had a striking resemblance to modern ATACs. Some would be familiar with this. So on the right here is our modern ATACs camo. On the left we have Harrison Ford, Han Solo, the one and only, looking dapper. But you also got to remember there was the bloody actual green variant, which we saw Princess Leia in. It was just so funny when ATACs came out, and those who knew, those who recognized, it was just like, is this Endor camo? Is that what's happening right now? But I think I'd rank this pretty highly because this is very, very cool for its time, noting that Return of the Jedi was 1983, I believe. And look at this. This looks sick. We've got a totally workable like forest green camo, wherever they film this, the Redwood thing, California, outside San Francisco or whatever. Wherever they need that movie with these big forest, what the hell are these? I don't know what they are. I don't know what kind of trees they are. I'm not a bloody horticulturalist, but I'm getting Planet of the Apes vibes as well, right? They always go to the same spot. The trees behind Carrie Fisher's head is what I'm pointing at. It looks like it would totally work there, the green one that is. And then you've got the Harrison Ford variant, which is more the urban variant of ATACs AU. Well, it looks like ATACs AU, which is also sick, super workable camo. Let me scroll up and steal my Captain Rex photo as well. Where the hell did that go? Why is it so small? Why are you behind? Come to front. Bring to front. Oh, boys, I've got reference pictures flying out the asshole over here. I know it's getting a bit annoying. I'm going to delete the ATACs. Here's the squad, the boys wearing the Endor camo. I'm not sure if there was actually an official name for this, either behind the scenes on the film or, you know, a fan-given name. But these guys got clearly a more green variant on that Leia has as well. So long story short, I hope you've sucked this up with your eyeballs. So I'm going to flash these reference images, and I'll probably just delete them, to be honest, so that I can put the tier list spot where it needs to go. I think Endor camo, by being generous to its age, the age of the film, but then also being quite critical on how they made it. Like, it's spray painted painters' jackets. I'd get a bloody mouthful of that up here. So it's not super technologically crazy, but some effort was made, right? I'm going to start by putting Endor Camo in B tier. I'm going to leave it there for now. As with the last tier list, I can always rejig this at the end. I can have a little bloody fidget spin, shuffle things about if I don't quite like how they look in relation to each other. But for now, Endor Camo is going to be in B tier. I'll leave one of these photos up there of Mr. Solo, and then I'll probably just delete the rest. Ah, you bastard. The bloody PowerPoint keeps jumping around, so it's messing with your screen there. Sorry, boys. Let me read chat. What does S tier stand for? I don't know. It's just the best. No one asks. You don't ask these questions. You just do tier lists, okay? Haven't you seen a bloody YouTube video before? No one knows what S stands for. I don't think it stands for anything. It's just the premier rank on a tier list. I could be wrong. Raycon, yeah, too bad she doesn't have matching pants. Camo, what about a plus factor of a rebellious military force having made this? Not a proper military war camo, but looked like a guy. War camo, but took a gold robot with them into the forest. True. Why didn't they cam up C-3PO on that note? It's for super camo. Endo camo, probably be Kuba. Hey, mate, welcome back. Endor camo, probably B tier. Not the best, not that iconic, but decent. Yeah, okay, well, I feel vindicated now that I have someone in bloody chat agreeing with me. Next up, what do we got? It's pissing me off that I just want the PowerPoint, I want the slide you guys to see to be just the full black background. Can I make that happen? There we go, I'll try. Okay, next up, we have Red Dawn. Red Dawn. So the film Red Dawn, I'll chuck it over here, the icon of what we're up to. This is specifically referring to, let me scroll up and find it. Sorry, I got ahead of myself. One more thing on the Star Wars picture. I'll pull this down for everyone's curiosity. Columbia, as in the outdoor brand, they are they're doing this like rerun of Star Wars kit. So if it tickles your fancy, you can get the jacket from Columbia. Just buy it off the shelf. Pretty sick, huh? I thought I'd flash that up, let everyone know. Maybe there's a sale going on in your nearby Columbia store. I don't know. Check it out. Not sponsored by Columbia, but it could be. I don't know. Next up, sorry boys, Red Dawn. So Red Dawn is talking about the camo worn by the Russian, I don't think they're Spetsnaz, I think they're like paratroopers, so VDV, I guess, troops in the film, which I think are the dudes who track down the bloody boys to their, their mountain hideout, I suppose. Let me pull down a little reference picture here. I'll pull down both for reference pictures. So there's not, you can kind of tell from the film what's going on. We got that one there. And then we got this one here, which has, of course, a Charlie Sheen, the Tiger Blood drinker himself. Pretty cool looking. My bias here is just I don't froth a lot of the Russian or even like East German, like Soviet bloc camos that much. I get there's plenty of dudes who go sick for them and they have their appeal. But I think the story behind this is pretty cool. So when I did dig into this one a little bit before compiling all these assets for the tier list. So obviously when Red Dawn was made, I think 1984 released, so it was probably made in 1983. The dude who was tasked to make this camo, all he could get was, and at the time this is obviously pre-bloody Google image search, he just had reference material of the VDV, so the Russians in Afghanistan then at the time, and the Russia's campaign in Afghanistan, and using like mostly black and white photos that he could pull up of Russian airborne units, he did this camo, the guy who was tasked to the film, pretty much from eyeball. So it didn't come out, so the story goes, right? I'm reading secondhand information here. It didn't come out exactly as the true VDV camo, which I can't remember the name of it. It's some crazy long Russian name, KMNT. I don't know, like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but with a K. It's a 4-letter acronym for a bunch of hectically long Russian words that I wouldn't know or wouldn't be able to say even if I did know them. But yeah, he went off eyeball to create this camo you guys are seeing on the screen, which is pretty sick. In terms of The story, though, that gets us some points, but I still don't think it's that cool looking. But again, this is just my bias because I don't necessarily froth on Russian camos. So, I don't know. How much am I weighing the story and the effort versus, in this case, the camo pattern itself? Because I don't even think it looks that cool. It certainly wouldn't be that effective given the white. I'm going to slot this. It's going to be the first C tier. This is going to be scandalous to me because I know this is one of those ones, the Red Dawn camo. People go skits for this one. There's a whole subculture of camo enthusiasts who are just frothing at the mouth for Red Dawn reproduction camo. The exact variant that was made for the film, not the original Russian one, or both. But man, personally, just does not blow my skirt up. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm just not sick for it. And it's going in C. Is that scandalous? Let me get rid of this. I'll leave that there actually for a bit while I leave chat. Red prawn. Nobody knows what it means, but it's provocative. Thank you, Adam Salter. 1, 2, 3. Jesus Christ, you're up early, mate. Looks kind of ass. Some weird Arctic camo mixed with forest camo. Looks ass. That's funny to me because we can't say that. I don't know. It doesn't come across the same way in Australian. If I say it looks like ass, some weird. I think the Americans, my USA comrades' pronunciation of looking like ass, just hits harder, you know. Red Dawn B or better, just the effort to make it look as good as possible without any good reference material. Yeah. See, you're weighing heavily the story behind the camo, which is fair, but I'm looking at it myself. I'm looking at it and thinking, like, would I want this as a collector? Would I rush out to try and spend big bucks on this or hunt it down? Me personally, no, boys. It's a no. Oh my God, what have I done? I've zoomed out so far you can't see the timeline anymore. Sorry, I'm trying to get this zoom right on PowerPoint so you can see the tier list and the years, but not see the stuff around it. Okay, there we go. Let me make a note here. What am I on? 100. I'm on 100% zoom and I'm looking at bloody cursors and zoom levels and I'm losing my mind. There we go. Okay. Let's delete this. Red Dawn's going in C. Next up, the big kahuna. We have, of course, James Cameron's Aliens from 1986. Here's the film. If you haven't seen this, give yourself a bloody uppercut, as the saying goes. And let's bring down some reference material. Tup, 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 tup. And scroll back down, and scroll back down. So here is Michael Bine, unsure on pronunciation. And here is a closer up of the pattern itself. I believe, and again, I'm just working off memory here, boys. I didn't go out and read or reread up on everything in heaps of detail. I funnily enough believe that this was called multicam. Ahead of its bloody time, right, back then. But James Cameron, cinematic genius that he is, of course, attention to detail is his game. And he puts a lot of arse into his military guys in his films. You see this again in other films that are going to appear on this list, which is Avatar. He even uses that same camera. Excuse me, Fernando, you need to get out of my face, mate. I'm working. The cat jumped up on the desk. Sorry, boys. I'm starting to sound like a broken record. Every stream, dumb cat jumping up on the desk. Mate, do you want to get locked out? Then you're going to be meowing at the door. You won't like that either, will ya? Where was I? James Cameron, attention to detail. It's the name of the game, and he froths it. This one is iconic, as in this is, well, what have we had? Red Dawn, Star Wars in terms of chronological order. I'll delete this big Aliens image and drag these two across. This is the true, like, the first true custom-made one, right? Look, okay, let me rephrase. There's probably are a few other movies that made a truly custom camouflage before this, but I'm not sure to the point where it features so much for the users or the troops involved, if that makes any sense. As in, you know, the attention that went into this just to give these guys a sense of, in this case, futuristic Marines character. So the USCM, you can see their patch there, the United States Colonial Marines. We need a futuristic camo for them that looks like it would work in lots of environments. And they did this in 1986. Like, this is crazy. I think Aliens multicam is what I'm going to call it. Might be wrong, might not be entirely correct on the naming there. I think that's A tier, potentially S, but I'm leaving it in A for now. It's cool. It's arguably viable, as in you could run around in, I don't know, autumn in a forest somewhere and probably have it work. And just that it was fully made from the ground up for this film, it gets mega points there. Unlike, say, Red Dawn, which, yes, was made for the film, but that was trying to emulate one for one another camo, and it only ended up different because of the reference material, limited reference material I had to work with. This was made specifically to be a totally new camouflage for this unit. So I think that's red hot. It's A. You know what? I'm going to slap it into S. I'm going to slap Aliens camo into S. Might be a little bit more biased too, because obviously the film is amazing and I love the film. But it's going to sit in S for now. This could very well likely change. Is that scandalous? What do you boys reckon? What's everyone saying? Secure that shit. That's it. That's a quote. Is the camo that is based off meant even for the Red Dawn environment? Is the camo that is... do you mean like geographically the Red Dawn environment? As in... Because the film's set or filmed in... I don't know, what is that? It's mountains and shit, right? So Montana or Colorado or something like this. Probably around where bloody Ryan's from. He lives somewhere out that way. Sorry, mate, I'm trying to dox you. Yeah, well, I don't know. I think they were just trying to be authentic to the unit, not so much find camo that was appropriate for the region or terrain. It was more that they wanted to look like Russian paratroopers, so they just figured out what Russian paratroopers of the era looked like. Showcat, no. A tier or S tier for sure, although you could judge it for not being futuristic enough, but that's more an in-universe judgment, not the camo. Yeah, I think it's... To your point there about being in universe, I think it's grounded for everything else. The aesthetic of the remainder of the film, it matches that very well. It blends in, and it's one of these things, again, to the layman. They don't even notice that this is some new fancy camouflage. They just say, oh, army dudes, this is probably just camouflage. Like, but again, they go to that effort to make it custom for the job. It's just crazy. I love the pattern painted on the armor plates. It says Gymaholic. Yeah, true, it is a bit different, isn't it? The plate. Aliens camo S tier, not just because I love this movie or that I have a jacket with that camo. Oh, you bloody cheeky boy, where'd you get that? Did I want it in a fist fight? What the fuck? What are you telling me, bruv? They breed them different out in Poland, out Cooper's way. Winning movie memorabilia is in fist fights. Was it in the street? I presume so. You're fist fighting for movie merch in the streets out there. Fuck me dead, boys. That's fair. Enkelane. Hey, bruv, welcome. G'day, folks. Yes, S fair. S, I'm leaning more A. Yeah. Okay. S is not scandalous. Good. Let's delete these. I'm going to probably regret deleting these later, but whatever. Actually, yeah, I'll just drag him off the screen for now in case I do need it later. Next up we have... Oh, boy. Wait, is that even the right theme song? Street Fighter. Round 1. Fight. Yoga Flame. Yoga Flame. I don't think there was Yoga Flame in the movie. Street Fighter, I dragged it off the timeline, so I can't remember what year. I think it's 1994, starring, of course, Jean-Claude Van Damme, the Canada's greatest export. The late great... What's this dude's name? I was just about to glaze him, but I can't remember his name. Raul Julia. And a arguably prime Kylie Minogue in, I think, one of her first film roles. Let's get the reference material down and see what we're working with here, boys. Buckle up, buckaroos, because this one is iconic. Okay, here's the close-up. Here's the iconic production shot, and I'll delete that because we don't need this cinema icon anymore. I don't know if this one had a name. If there was one, I don't know it. But look at this. I mean, just look at this. Have a go at it. It's fucking something, I tell you that. So, at first glance, not at first glance, I think in my mind's eye, this was just standard urban BDU, like the white and black. But then I'm pretty sure on digging into this, they did make this custom for the film. So these hideous reds and blues, it looks like something out of, I don't know, something drank a bucket of paint and vomited it back up onto a shirt. It's not very pretty. And I think it's only iconic as a camouflage uniform unto itself. As in this color combination of having red and blue and the rest of it kind of being plausibly an urban camo. This is Street Fighter camo to the point where it almost is a benchmark, I think, when if you see another blue-ish camo, you will say, what is that? That looks like Street Fighter camo. You get what I mean? So this has almost set the benchmark for anytime there's an absurd, overly blue or red, God forbid, like camouflage pattern, it becomes Street Fighter camo-esque as like the linchpin, the anchor point, the patient zero of the virus that was blue camouflage patterns. Looking at you, Royal Australian Air Force, mother of pearl. So, not really great looking, not really effective, and iconic just as a memory of itself, and not a great film to boot. In fact, it's a terrible film. So, Street Fighter, I could, for the memes and the negative legacy it's left, it could go a B, but it's got to be a D. It's got to be a D. If we're talking camo effectiveness, obviously D. But then it's one of those things, if you're like, hey, there's a rare collector's edition available of the Street Fighter camo, like, would I want it? I probably would. That's the weird thing. So D might be too harsh now that I think about it. But I'm going to leave it there for now. What do you boys reckon? What's everyone saying? Up. It reminds me, it's like Call of Duty-esque. I think I started getting into that. As in Call of Duty, Modern Warfare 4, I think, when you could max out the guns and you got blue and red camos, hey? When's the next tactical analysis video? Still in the bloody oven, boys. I'm cooking it slowly. I've been busy. We're all busy, not making excuses. They're like assholes. Everyone's got them. But yeah, I'm slow, boys. What can I say? I crave tactical analysis. Thank you. I'm working on it. Belgium's famous export. Is Jean-Claude Van Damme Belgian? I thought he was Canadian. Wait, is that what's happening here in this conversation? Raul Julia's last role. Was this his last role? Yeah, apparently he did it because his kids were fans. Okay, that's pretty cool. Looks like the same shit the VD would wear for a promo video. Yeah, scene. This would be so much more effective if it weren't for that red maroon splotch, says Alpha Numerical 975. Yeah, also, I don't think the blue or the red are doing it any favors. I mean, if you take the red away, it could look like a modern Navy's attempt at doing their corporate imaging unique identifier thing, much like the way Australia does, right? Or, there's a few other navies around the world that have their own uniform, but the red is just, it's absurd, patently. It looks like a mix of the USN blueberries and the vomit camo for infiltrating a frat party. Yeah, like in your American movies, yeah. Lots of drinking and keg stands and reckless alcohol consumption. Do you like urban T-block camo? I do like urban T-block camo. I think it's pretty cool. We're kind of going to talk about that in the next entry. One last comment I'll read. On the one hand, this looks like some bullshit you can see on some pseudo-tactical equipment sites. On the other, there is probably something comically charming about... Yes, I like that, comically charming. Yeah, I think that summarizes it well. I want a set. Even though it's obviously crap. So, which is weird. Compared to, say, the Red Dawn one, which is maybe better camo, winter camo. It fits a purpose, it's based on a real Russian camo, but it doesn't interest me. I don't look at the Red Dawn camo and be like, oh, sick, really? I'd chase a set of that. Whereas this one, it's iconic for almost how bad it is. But I'm going to leave it in D for now. Sounded heaps Australian in the pronunciation of that now. Now, and move on. Jean-Claude Van Damme is Belgium. There you go, I've been educated. Next up, chaps, we have The Rock. The most annoying thing about a terrific film called The Rock is that you can't Google search anything about it without getting bombarded with results for fucking Dwayne Johnson. So, thanks, wrestler cunt, for ruining the movie's SEO. This was one of the ones I mentioned at the start in the intro that I'm cheating a little bit, right? Because The Rock isn't bespoke per se. No, in fact, it's almost explicitly not bespoke, as in it wasn't made for the film. But I just love the movie, and I love what they did with outfitting these guys. So I just wanted to sneak this in. You get what I'm saying? Like, I fully acknowledge I'm breaking my own rules here, not being coy about that. Purely because I just wanted to. It's a great film, and I kind of love what they did with the costume designs for the villainous Marines in the movie, and then the way they can contrast that against the SEALs in the film, who were in a very, I suppose, 90s chic, all black, like CT kit, right? Like in the MP5s, and then these dudes in the urban BDUs with the DARs. It's just sick. It's just cool what they do with this and how they kind of use it, and they make it look, I don't know, like if you were a bunch of rogue Marine dudes, you can imagine the thought process from old Brigadier General Francis X. Hummel, live from Alcatraz, out as they went into this. So, like, okay, the men are Marines, that's the line he keeps using, which obviously comes back to bite him in the bloody ass, because that's kind of one of the dilemmas he has in the film is, no, they'll do this, they're Marines, well, they're not, they're bloody mercenaries now, and when you give them money, they'll do other things, because they're not fighting for country and honor anymore, are they, mate? But that's one of the underlying themes of the film, or his struggle within the film. So you can picture them almost sitting around, oh yeah, we're going to do this mission, we're still Marines, but we'll keep taking a bunch of hostages, and we're potentially going to launch VX rockets at San Francisco. What are we going to wear? Well, we're not just going to knock around in jeans and t-shirts, something like that, to a man of Brigadier General Francis X. Hummel's experience and rank would be obscene. So he's like, well, we want to wear uniform, we need to look professional, we need to look schmick. It's going to help keep our gang of mercenaries on task, focused. Give them a little reminder that, hey man, yes, you're doing this for cash, yes, you're selling out, but part of what we're doing is still, we're always, once a Marine, always a Marine, I guess, is a thing in his brain, right? And so I think it's a perfectly good choice for the narrative. Does that make sense? I fucking yapped so much then. I'm just letting my thoughts spew onto the table. But I hope that makes sense. I feel from a story perspective, them choosing this pattern would make sense, given the context of the film. And it's not quite... Again, why I'm cheating here is because, like, it wasn't made specifically for the film. I think this urban BDU, again, someone correct me in the chat if I'm wrong, this was just stuff you would find at op shops throughout the country, throughout the 90s. Like, even in Australia, every, like, disposal store had this urban pattern BDU just hanging on racks, and it was usually pretty cheap as well. Reproduction, couldn't tell you where it was made. I think it was American made, but it was very common, and I think it was just a civilian market thing before it got rolled into, obviously, with the film. But again, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, someone knows their camo history better than me, when it appeared in the actual US Marine trials, maybe not the exact same one, but a similar one here. I'm pretty sure this thing that I'm wiggling the mouse at is also just off-the-shelf civilian woodland, well, not woodland, deep, not deep, yeah, my God, my brain. A civilian off-the-shelf solution that they were trialing. I don't think this was specifically made for the US Marines here. And these are these iconic photos from what's called Exercise Urban Warrior, which I think took place in like 1998. And I think part of the reason this was like a fallout from Mogadishu and Somalia and all that as well. They were dialing in and getting tighter at urban operations because of some of that kit that had gone down in 1993. So this was this giant, big trial exercise in 1998. They trialed a bunch of kit. It's where there's the other photo, that iconic shot of the guy with the skateboard. And yeah, most of the other guys, the other trial pattern which they were wearing on this, the Marines that is, was the T-block camouflage pattern, which was another urban specific, well, pattern, but that was made purposely for the Marines. Whereas this one here, I think, was just an off-the-shelf thing that they were maybe using as like a control and trialing T-block against. But either way, I like the kind of the touch here that, well, they had some Marines using this camo in a film in 1995. And then in 1998, the Marines trialed like trialed urban camo that looks startlingly similar. Coincidence? I'd like to imagine they were influenced by the film, but who the fuck knows? Either way, I think it's cool for the narrative, but I've got to dock some points for cheating against my own rules. So I'm going to put it... And look, it is kind of boring too. It's boring in its availability and accessibility, and that you could just find this in any disposal store probably around the world from early 90s to mid thousands. My heart wants B, my brain says C. I'm gonna put it in you know what, I'm gonna put it in B for the reasons I cited earlier. I just love how they applied it, and maybe I'm creating this in my brain. I just think it really, really suits the story of this film. What do you boys reckon? Let me read. Yeah, he's Belgian. I read it. What's the name of the one Aussie camo that mixed... The one Aussie camo that mixed like frog skin color palette, but made their own version of multicam. I'm not too sure. Are you just talking about AMCU, like the current Australian multicam uniform? But the color palette from that is DPCU, which was its predecessor, and then I think 2 other colors added in. If this is for corporate identity, the negs become a POS for unique recognizability. Piece of shit? Is that what POS is? I'm unsure. Reading on. Chris Reed. Urban Woodland deserves S tier easily. General Hummel did nothing wrong. Marine stay, drift out. Hoorah! Based. This looks like OG Op 4 camos. And it kind of looks like they're wearing old school Delta Force rigs. Sorry, I'm reading a bunch of different comments here, boys. I like it, but I can never unsee this camo as what way too many airsofters wore in rural Poland in the early 2000s. That Heku camo. Oh, yeah, Heku. Half-Life, right? Yeah, true. The dudes in Half-Life wore this as well. That came up in the last stream as well, I think. It's funny you mentioned that comment about airsofters wearing this in the early 2000s. We didn't have airsoft in Australia, obviously, because yeah, we have gun laws, but I'm not going to get into that. I just feel there was a phase where they were like, not punks, post-punk, but pre-emo. What came between then? Some dude wearing like these pants, these urban camo pants, and like Doc Marten boots was very much a thing. I guess just pre-hipster hipsters? I don't know what you'd call it. Anyway, moving on. What's the next one we got here? Oh boy. Next up is James Bond 007. I believe, if someone could check for me, fault correct me, that would be good. The last entry into the Pierce Brosnan Bond film saga, Die Another Day. Terrible film. I hope it wasn't his last one, because if so, it was an awful way to bloody bow out of the franchise. But Die Another Day featured the North Koreans as the main villains. And interestingly, they, from what I understand, let's shrink this a bit. Actually, let's just delete it. You all know what film it is now. They were trying to emulate real North Korean camouflage. This is one of the better shots from the film that you can really see it in. So we got Halle Berry here. What's she doing with this bloody pistol? I'm leaning into the screen. And we've got old Piercy boy in the background. And you can just see, this is probably one of the clearer shots I could find on Google Images anyway, of the pattern. Apparently based on a real North Korean pattern. Similar story to Red Dawn. They were going for accuracy, but didn't one-to-one copy it. ended up with, their take on what was a North Korean-ish pattern. The colors on this remind me a lot of, I think it's the current, I get it mixed up, the Baltic states, and not just their patterns, just everything about them. My apologies to any Baltic comrades watching. This looks a bit like the Latvian colorway. Is it Latvian or the Estonian? No, the Estonians have the big digi block pattern. I get the three of them mixed up, man. No, you know what? I think it's Lithuania. It looks like the colorway a bit of the modern Lithuania pattern. But again, I'm probably wrong, boys. I'm rusty on those three. And I get them mixed up. Like I can see all three of them in my brain. Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia. But I get their patterns as the same way I get the countries mixed up. I get the bloody patterns for them mixed up too. Apologies, I mean no offense. Anyway, this is going for North Korea, but the colorway kind of looks like whichever one of those I was trying to remember. I'm going to go with Lithuania. And it's kind of just a BDU-esque pattern. Not really much going on here, boys. I don't really like it as nostalgia. It doesn't have a cool story behind the film. The pattern's okay. I think it's a serviceable pattern. Of the ones, everything we've seen so far, it's arguably one of the most usable ones is a woodland pattern. But there's just no cool story. There's not really a cool lot of history aside from, they were trying to make North Korean camo and this was as close as they got. It's not a great film and it's not particularly unique. So, man, Die Another Day. You know what? Looking at this now, I feel bad for Street Fighter because I think Die Another Day. But again, how do I weigh the camo versus my inbuilt bias against the film? I think C is fair for now, but if I put this in C, now I start feeling bad for Street Fighter because Street Fighter has just so much more legacy behind it. You get what I mean? I'll chuck it in C. For now, we can always circle back. What's everyone saying? Who is the best James Bond / Jason Bourne? Best James Bond. Man, I actually like Craig. I like the Daniel Craig as Bond, the experiment, I guess. James Blonde when he came out. And oh my God, everyone was shivering their timbers when there was a blonde fella playing James Bond. Jesus. All those movies haven't been hits, of course. But I like Craig. But going to the old schools, man, of the older ones, weirdly, and I know that this is one of those things, right? There's just fandoms where you're just meant to have the point of view, and if you speak against it, you're like a heretic. Like Fallout, for example. And I've done a Fallout video, so I'm allowed to speak about it. If you don't say that Fallout New Vegas is your favorite game in the Fallout franchise, then you're banished to the fringes of society and never spoken to again in Fallout circles. I think it's the same thing with James Bond. You're meant to just say and acknowledge that Sean Connery is the GOAT. But I've got most nostalgia, I think, for Roger Moore. I just have a lot of the quips and the quotes from whatever it happened to be. I was watching more of the Roger Moore movies, but I think Roger Moore was one of my favorite old school from the Bonds. That's a good teacup. Ah, yes, Halle Berry's grip on the Pistolero. It looks like Greek lizard pattern, says Chris Reed. Double teacup. Good color palette and pattern, but terrible cut of uniform, says 5-star Q. Brother, most people can't point Lithuania on a map, let alone remember what camo pattern they use. Yeah, fair. If you only look at the image to the right and squint, you can imagine it's a form of AMCU or some other form of multicam, says Alphanumerical 975. Yeah, it takes a bit of squinting though. You got to shrink those blotches down. Although there's a YouTube channel, Enkalainen, hi. There's a YouTube channel that does discuss those Baltic Defense Review. Oh, I've heard of that. Don't quote me on this, but I think they're all going multicam. Surely not, because I thought one of them replaced their camouflage with something more modern quite recently. Or is that like that joint affair they've got going on with the Swedes as well? Because I know they're all about to jump in bed with the same gun. Actually, I'm thinking of the Finland and Sweden picking up that Seiko AR. I think I'm mixing up that with the patterns. I found that DPCU is the modern equivalent of modern evolution of frog skin camo. Yes. You know what, though? I'm rusty on the DPCU history and how it links to frog skin. I'm not denying your comment. the similarity is remarkable. That's certainly, I'm not disagreeing there. But I don't know if DPCU evolved from a silo of whatever research they put into it, or if there was an intentional borrowing of frog skin patterns um, as like a maybe a starting point, right? But yes, DPCU and like World War II marine frog skin do look very, very similar. Okay, moving on. Let's delete Halle Berry, get off my screen. Next up, we have this film, boys. If you haven't seen Children of Men, starring Clive Owen, 2006, I believe, first of all, go and treat yourself. It's a great film. And I was just looking into this before the stream, doing, I'm not sure I'd call it research, but looking into it a little bit. I didn't realize that the dude in the film, who's like I think he's like one of the antagonists, he's like the Irish henchman dude. He's got like long blonde dreadlocks. And he turns out to be a baddie. He's executing a few people, giving them the old, what for? That's, what's his name from Sons of Anarchy? Charlie Hunman. I don't know how to say his last name. Yeah, he's in Children of Men. He's that baddie in Children of Men, which, if you're like me and you've seen Children of Men a long, long, long time ago, and then are now familiar with, obviously, Charlie Hunnam has gone on to much bigger things, main roles, leading roles. Yeah, it blew my mind. I didn't know that was him. But anyway, the camouflage side of the conversation for Children of Men, if you've seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's the final battle scene, which has the British Army, I suppose, and they're wearing what, at first inventory, looks to be UCP/ACU, right? US Army let's say mid GWAT digicam, loathed by many, loved by almost none. And it's very grimy. You can, let me see if I can adjust this real quick. Can I brighten this up? Oh, I can. There we go. Thank you, PowerPoint. Oh, even more. So you can see at first glance how this looks like UCP. And the tank's got digicam. That's the vibe they're going for. But it turns out it's not UCP. And it wasn't until I kind of dug into this that I didn't realize it either. So I thought when I first watched this, it was UCP. But it's actually this. That's the pattern close up. Pretty sick. So again, this was made specifically for the film. I love how it fits the story. It's perfectly apt for the setting of the character. It's urban fighting in the UK. The plot of the film, without getting too much into it, but the world's falling to pieces economically, socially, everything, because the birth rate has dropped to, well, 0. No one can have babies anymore, so everyone's going to die off, and it's this, I'm not sure post-apocalyptic, but it's pre-apocalyptic, a dystopian hellscape of the future. And there's various factions fighting for various reasons, and there's still some form of majorly oppressive, seemingly, government. And the British military, for whatever reason, has evolved to this digital pattern, of which you can see here on the right. I'm going to delete Clive Owen's face, drag that across there, move this a bit more so I can make him big. But it's just very cool because it looks like it actually works in the terrain and landscape they're in. And it almost looks like they set out to make a pattern that was unique for whatever this year is meant to be set in the film. I think it's like 2037 is the year they're going for. And they say, hey, we want the British Army to look futuristic, and we want it to look like they're fighting in urban terrain, and give them a pattern that matches that. And they not only do it, but they do it so well that you almost can't even appreciate the depth of their genius. And it doesn't, like I said, on first viewing, I did not know this was not UCP. I just kind of thought it was UCP. And they don't really hold any close-ups. Fernando, get your fat ass off the desk. They don't give you any close-ups or anything on the soldiers. The soldiers are like secondary characters. They're not integral to the, well, they are integral to the plot. They're not the main characters, right? But look at this. This looks sick. Look at this effort. Again, if I'd done more deep research on this, I'd love to know who they had do this or which company. It's very cool. This looks, I think, on par in coolness to Aliens. Almost similar in a way. What would you call this? Not abstract. There's a term for it when it's not quite digital pixels, but like digital shapes. The word escapes me right now. I think this not only looks sick, I think it goes very well with the story, and I think it would arguably be functional for its purpose, which is the urban sprawl of futuristic UK, where there's presumably, I think there's like overpopulation for a time, obviously before the event of the film kicks in. It's implied that there's what do you call it, like mass immigration, and the UK is overpopulated. There's people in like prison, outdoor prisons and cages and all this sort of shit. So they're fighting in cities and built up areas. I think it looks cool. And Children of Men, this camo, you know what? I think what better opportunity to fill in this empty A column than the Children of Men camo? I just think it looks sick. Again, UCP was hated, and you could hate on this for the same reasons, like the crappy colorway. But for the other reasons I said, I still think it's sick. What do you dudes reckon? Let me see chat. Up. Shout out to the British Army still using the chieftains in the future. Is it? Is it dressed up? Is it dressed up chieftain? I'll tell you what, my AFE recognition on British tanks, I'll confess, is pretty dodgy. If it's not like a Challenger 1 or 2, I'm basic with basic bitch with my chieftain centurions. I never looked into the camo in this movie. My attention was mostly focused on the chieftain in the background. Okay, second comment for the bloody everyone get off, stop dick riding the chieftain. Bloody tank nerds. Yeah, but there you go. Like as you said, you never really notice the camo, and I think that's to the film's credit. I love that when they put in so much attention to detail that people don't notice. It's a blessing and a curse, right? That's cool. So yeah, I'm feeling happy with A. Looks like the stuff the US Air Force was using for a bit. Easy A. Yeah, I think that's not disparaging, but I certainly think it looks better than the US Air Force camo. But I know the one you're talking about, and certainly that one I believe is way more blue. But I can see what you're getting at with the shapes, the splotches of digital. Was that not Tiger Stripe? Correct me if I'm wrong. Or like sip on some water. Oh, that's so good. Okay, I'm moving on here, boys. Let's delete Children of Men images. And what have we got next? Two films that came out in, this is not 2010, this is 2009. Let's do the first one being G.I. Joe, the first one, Rise of the Cobra. Let me go up and steal my images. Come on down. Here's our in-film reference, which isn't great. Move you across, you come here. You get made big. You get made even bigger. Okay. Getting a good reference shot from this movie was a bit poo. This one is quite cool for a few reasons. Firstly, they made 3 versions of it. I think, who was it I referenced at the start of the video? Camouflage Uniform History YouTube channel. I think he has a video on this in great detail, and they made 3 variants. They made, I suppose, an urban, which you can see Mr. Quaid here in center of frame wearing. An urban colorway variant. I think this is the arid or mixed-esque colorway, and then a more woodland colorway. I don't think this is the full woodland. I think this is the like intermediate, more arid one. Mr. Channing Tatum here in this photo, he's wearing regular multicam, I'm pretty sure. Or his jacket here, or his weird, whatever the hell this vest, body armor, saggy thing is. Yeah, I think that's multicam. He's not wearing the uniform, so ignore Channing Tatum. The only real shot we've got here is Dennis Quaid. Dennis Quaid? Am I losing my mind? Is that Dennis Quaid? Quaid, one of the Quaids. It's Quaid. He's wearing the urban variant. But looking at just the pattern here, let me delete the thumbnail and drag that across. This looks pretty cool. So it's called, I believe, courtesy of the text, and I think this is called Joe Flage. They just called it Joe Flage. They made it for the film. I think it looks like what it sets out to do. We have a futuristic military unit, the G.I. Joes, the cowboys in a lot of ways. They have these bizarre specialists, like a ninja with a sword, and then there's other dudes who have particular skills, and we have sick names like Roadblock and Beachhead and blah blah blah, Snake Eyes. We need a cool camo that looks like it gives us a sense of corporate identity, looks like it would work, and we're going to make 3 variants of it to work in different terrain, and yeah, is unique to the film that we are in, because this is a fictional thing we're talking about. I think it looks pretty sick. Again, effectiveness, yeah, maybe, plausibly. The curious thing they're doing with the little, it looks like Braille almost, doesn't it? It's like a blind bloke would come running up to you out in the bush and start stroking you, trying to figure out what you've got, directions to the nearest train station or something. I don't know. But there's like dots here all over it. Kind of curious looking. Then we got your like BDU style old blotches, but then you've got some geometry in here, I think. And then, of course, the text, the G.I. Joe flage, like the writing. It's interesting stuff. And I like that they dared to dare without going full piss take and making it look like dog shit. You know what I mean? So I think it's cool that they pretty much invented something from scratch, but didn't take the piss and just make it look dumb. They didn't stick 5 bits of camouflage in a blender or feed it into ChatGPT and said, make me a pattern based off of these 5 patterns. I acknowledge ChatGPT wasn't around back then, but you get the example or the scenario I'm trying to paint, right? So I think it looks pretty sick. It doesn't have that much legacy behind it. Like, you're not going to rush out, and I'm sure this isn't a highly desirable collector's item compared to some of these others. But the pattern has legs in and of itself. I think that the uniform looks sick, even if there's not that much vibes or story to the actual making of itself, right? So for G.I. Joe Cam, and again, if you can put out of your mind's eye that the films kind of suck, they're not great movies, they didn't leave like a lasting impression. If you can ignore that, which I feel I'm contradicting myself because I didn't give some of these other films the same benefit. If you ignore that, I think the pattern is really cool by itself. So I'd be tempted to go A for this, just because of how many points or how well the pattern carries itself. Does that make sense? Let me check if I'm being sort of consistent here in how I'm subjectively applying this. Die Another Day is C, but that was like a copy of a copy. Red Dawn was a copy of a copy. Street Fighter is just absurd. The red and the blue. You know, yeah, I'm feeling pretty fair about this. Putting G.I. Joe in A. What's chat reckon? Let me check this out. Okay, that does look cool, says The Thing and the Other Thing. Coolbus says, immediate bonus points for having multiple variants of this camera, plus it doesn't look half bad. I like the arid multi-terrain one in particular. BT maybe A. Alpha Numerical says, I agree, if you want the effort of having multiple different camos for one movie, 80. Yeah, that's true. I've got to give them props as well for, yeah, maybe it doesn't have the legacy of the others, but they made 3 different fucking variants. That's pretty full on for a movie, especially when you can barely tell. Like, look, they've got Channing Tatum here in regular multicam. Why did you make this pattern with 3 variants and then just let your dude wear plain Jane, boring old multicam? So, yeah, you're right. I think they should get some bonus points for the triple terrain threat. That and them adding G.I. Joe to the camo itself is chef's kiss. But does the film justify people wearing different camo around each other? Honestly, I haven't seen it for a red hot minute. So, you know, narrative-wise, I couldn't tell you. I think it would probably, especially just looking at this frame here, right? It's probably just used to help tell characters apart. I would wager from memory how to do it. Like, obviously, you know, Dennis Quaid, I think, is Duke. That's the general of G.I. Joe, right? He's the boss man. We'll just leave him in the urban one because, well, he's knocking around in command centers and that sort of kit. But Channing Tatum's getting out in the ground. Or is Channing Tatum Duke? I can't remember. He's going to need the actual one that affords some camouflage capabilities. So yeah, I don't think it has quite that verse, you know, the passionate spiel I gave about The Rock and how I think that camo for the narrative plausibly fits in. I don't think G.I. Joe has that sort of same thing. It's just a very well-designed one. Haven't seen it myself, different branches. Yeah, who knows, it could be. Maybe they have G.I. Joe Navy, Air Force, Army, and they have different versions for each one. If so, that would also be cool. So yeah, I'm leaving it in A. I'm pretty happy with that. Okay, delete. and moving on. Next up we have Jake Sully. Avatar, straight out of 2000, I think it's 2009. I moved it too soon. I don't think it's 2010, I think it's 2009. Let me get my reference images. Okay. Now, those who know ball will also be aware that there are 2 Avatar films, and each Avatar film has its own pattern, but we're just focusing on Avatar Part 1 for now. So here we have Colonel Miles Quaritch, Head of Security for the Research Development Administration, RDA Pandora wing. And here on the right, we have the blow-up version of the Avatar Camouflage, known as AvPat. AvPat, I'm not sure it's fair to say I'm biased. It's just that I'm more familiar with this one because I remember noticing this. I remember watching the film for the first time, unlike a lot of these other examples, and immediately just saying that camo doesn't exist. Have they just made a new pattern for this movie? The absolute mad lads. And then immediately realizing, or thinking, once you start scratching away, you realize it's James Cameron. He's done the exact same thing with Aliens. The mad lads done it again. Yeah, they did. They just went and created this digital pattern. I love this camouflage pattern. It's called AvPat, I believe. I froth this in every way. By every metric that I'm applying to this tier list process, I can't glaze AvPat enough. I love the way it looks. I think it looks sick. I think the colorway is very, very workable for their terrain, the jungle. The pattern, pixel/digi, controversial historically, but on the flip side of that coin, almost enamored historically too. Of course, you went the US Army route of UCP, digital and pixel, and you end up hating digital camouflage. You go the US Marines, they're still rocking it to this day, as are the Canadians. So I don't think pixel in itself deserves hate. I think a lot of pixel or digicamo got the hated reputation courtesy of the US Army UCP. So if you're a digi or pixel hater, I'm probably not going to win you over with any of this conversation. But I guess I'm trying to say that I don't think it's fair to just hate pixel because of UCP when it is still being rocked by, some very large and very credible organizations that probably could swap if they so wanted to. And even outside of that, I've not met US Marines who disliked their camo or hated it or complained about it. There's lots of things that Marines or any soldiers complain about at any one given day, but I don't ever remember them, their camouflage being one of those things that was a systemic problem, an issue that they were fighting to get replaced or wanted swapped, right? On the right here, this is AvPat, this right image that is. AvPat is shown here on the left, and this is, I think, this isn't MARPAT, this is what do you call the US Navy one? AOR2, or Navy Working Uniform, NWU, whatever it is. So you just can see the kind of difference side by side. So the bigger pixels, and the pixels compared to MARPAT, they have the outline. So there's a line traced around every blotch. I think it looks sick. I think it would work in the environment they're going for. I think it totally looks like the organization they're going for, or it's apt for the organization they're going for, a futuristic mercenary. I don't think the word mercenary is appropriate to apply to them. A futuristic corporation with a private army, a professional force that is professionally equipped and working presumably within the mandate of some futuristic United State, or plural. Avatar AvPat is going in S. I love it in every way. What do you boys reckon? Up. Avatar camo deserves immediate S tier. Okay, I'm vindicated. Thanks, Chris. I love the design of the Marines in this movie. Peak drip, 10 out of 10, no notes. Yeah, man, I agree, I concur. Basically, form digital camo says Ray, S tier, yeah, I could be something invented to use IRL. Kuba says, ST, great design, great color palette. Almost got the uniform in the same event. I got the aliens one, but some big Austrian guy outbid you. He outbid you, or did you bloody lose a fist fight to him like the other dude? Digital camo is drip. I will hear no arguments. Chris Reed, love my Marpat. There you go. See, Marines love Marpat. I've never read a Marine say they hate it. Yeah, boys. Avatar is S. I'm not getting any pushback. Pretty happy with that one. Let's move on. Okay, next up we have, drag him into the waiting room, make it a bit bigger, just so you can see in the video, because I noticed the thumbnails here for the tiles are a bit small when I was rewatching the Latam video, so I'm dragging them a bit bigger so you can see. Jurassic World starring Chris Pratt. Let me drag down my references. So, users, some of you will be aware of this, the paramilitary or security force in Jurassic World, what's the company? Oh my god, it escapes me. Maybe I can see it on his chest. It's not Wayland Yutani, I've got Wayland Yutani in my head. Oh my god, InGen, right? That's the company from Jurassic World. They have this crew of dudes who are, I suppose, the QRF if and when dinosaurs escape, and they are called the ACU, which I believe is the Asset Containment Unit, ACU. And they have this funny-looking cryptek pattern. This is kind of the other one where I'm cheating. So remember I said at the start, the rule is it has to be created specifically with the film. I've already cheated with The Rock. Kind of cheating again here, in that cryptek isn't a bespoke pattern. Cryptek was a thing that existed well before Jurassic World came out. But this version of the film, I'm pretty sure they dyed blue. Either dyed or had manufactured, made their own variant of cryptek to be blue, unsure. But it is definitely bluer, or a shade of blue, than any cryptek offering on the market at the time. There is a blue cryptek, I think, like a maritime one. It looks very, very suitable as like a wetsuit for spearfishing, or like an underwater kind of, swimming around the Far Cry 3 waterways. So, what do you call it? I don't know what you call it. Underwater operations. Swimming shit. Right? I can't remember what that cryptek is called. Might be, no, not Typhoon. That's the black one. I don't remember all the cryptek names. Anyway, I don't mind cryptek. Cryptek gets this weird reputation because it's very love-hate. People are either sick for it or they despise it. I liked cryptek when it came out. I bought a set of Mandrake just to kind of fuck around with in the bush. That sounds weird. As in, like, I brought it out bush a couple of times when I was in the army because I was just curious to see how it would go in Australia. Mandrake is quite dark. That's more the jungle one. The other cryptek I think is Highlander, is like the more light browny beigey one. Not full desert, but sort of a halfway between desert and halfway between woodland. That one would probably be best in most of Australia. But Mandrake cryptek, which is the jungle one, I think is very sick, and I think is very apt as a jungle pattern. Anyway, they have cryptek pattern with blue colorway here. Mostly just for, I would suppose, corporate identity. It could be a matter of you don't want your guests seeing dudes running around in green kit. Green kit screams army, right? As soon as you make stuff blue, it screams police. And police scream friendlier, as in come to me for help, than dudes wearing green camouflage and running around in the jungle. I think that's pretty objective, fair take. That will wind people up, I feel. I'm not sure why. Oh, sorry, I do know why. I think because people resent if you suggest that police and army or military have different functions, God forbid. But yeah, I do think people get triggered by that, and I don't think they should. I think it's a very fair statement to make, and that the optics that cops have to present is very different from the optics that soldiers have to present, right? In terms of how you're perceived by people who are not cops or are not soldiers. So I think that's probably why they're going for here. So narrative-wise, I think the blue cryptek is a cool choice and makes sense for the story. Where this one lose points, boys, it's just not particularly creative, and I can't give it like heaps of points for being fully created for the film, because it wasn't. It was just a recolor graded version of an existing pattern. So that's going to drop it down a few notches on the tier list. This dude on the right, I can't remember his name. I follow him on Instagram. He's like a airsoft dude in California or something like that. He shoots guns and live fire and stuff too, but he's a kit monster. He does like reels where he's got his, what would you call it, like a little kit wardrobe, and he's got loadouts from any film and like era of actual, what do you call it, milsim. Yeah, I think he's like a milsim airsoft dude, but very cool amount of, well, his kit collection is fucking out of control. I can't remember his name. If you ever watch this, bloody say g'day. I'm a big fan of your collection. Anyway, guys, the ranking, yeah, I'm gonna give it, with everything I've just said, I'll move this out of the way. Let's put Jurassic World. Definitely doesn't. It's not at the level of effort G.I. Joe did, so it's not A. Or Children of Men. I think B. Nah, you know what? It's got to be C. It's got to be C. It looks cool narrative-wise. It's appropriate. It just for the, it doesn't have the same effort. If you compare it to say Avatar, it's dyed cryptech at the end of the day. So I think C is apt for it, even though it's in the story. I think very appropriate. C, I feel pretty good for that. What's everyone saying? Naked plate carrier, yuck. Yeah, the naked plate carrier kind of ruins it. You're true, and I think that's like a that's like a 5'11" too. Yuck. Like mates don't let mates wear 5'11" kit. You know what I mean? Not like, not that, set of cargo pants maybe, but yeah, I think it's a 5'11" plate carrier. Just gross. Why are you wearing plates if your enemy is dinosaurs? Yeah, true. Bloody, they stab you. Raptor claws, you need a Kevlar. Raycone Mod says, I also wonder if you could fine-tune the camera to make it harder for the dinosaurs to see you. Maybe abuse their tetrachromia. What the fuck are you talking about? I don't know what that is. Tetrachromia. Is this the way they process colors and shit? Okay, I'm going to move on before I start getting a bloody eyeball lesson from bloody Raycone in the chat. Tetrachromia. What are we talking about? I'm happy to learn. Let's delete these guys and move next up to 2016. I think we had the Suicide Squad. YouTube, if you're listening, I'm talking about a movie called The Suicide Squad. I'm not talking about the S word as a concept, but yeah, I'll just leave it at that. YouTube's crazy. The Suicide Squad had, let me scroll up, this. Here's the delightful Scott Eastwood, son of the infamous, of course, great Clint Eastwood. I'm just going to delete the Suicide Squad thumbnail because I've got two vertical pictures here, so it's going to be a bit tricky otherwise. Scott Eastwood in Suicide Squad, and there's a blow up of the pants. So this was a pattern that was made well and truly bespoke for the film. It was for I believe these were meant to be SEALs, a SEAL team accompanying the Suicide Squad. I have seen the film. I think I've seen it a couple of times. It sucks. I don't think anyone loves Suicide Squad, the first one. The Suicide Squad, the second one they did with John Cena, came back a bit stronger. But this movie's kind of trash, boys. I don't think I'll get any pushback for saying that. But yeah, they made this custom camouflage pattern for this. It's pretty cool. They went out of the way to give it like combat cut, the combat shirt, the cry pants bottom-esque. Oh, sorry, not really cry pants. It's a bit of a flub. There's no cry, kind of G3 looking knee pad gaps or anything. But the cut of the uniform, pretty cool. The pattern itself, I think, sucks. So I think this does... It's sort of like everything the G.I. Joe pattern was, but worse and bad. And almost I don't know, the reverse of the praise I gave for the G.I. Joe could apply to this in criticisms. This looks like they stuck 4 camos in a blender and came up with this. They're like, it's got T-block in it. It's got a bit of Flecktarn-esque vibes, and we've got the red lines of what's that East German camo everyone goes skits for, Stricktarn, or whichever one that is with the vertical striped lines. Again, I don't really like a lot of the old German camos or the Soviet camo, so I don't know them. So that's why I'm struggling over this. And if you judge me for my bloody lack of camo knowledge in that department, that's why I don't like them. So I don't bother learning about them because I don't think they look cool. But this is just ghastly. Look at this, boys. What is this? It looks a bit better over here, modelled on old Scotty. But just why? This is a perfect example of less is more. If they just stopped before the T block, I think we would have still had, it would have been just as effective, as little so as it is, and just looked infinitely better. You know what I mean? So I can't stand this one. I think this sucks. I think it looks dumb, and it's too much. If they, yeah, man, this, obviously they had dudes who knew what they were doing making this. They would no doubt know more about camouflage than I do. I'm just a fat retard yapping on YouTube. But man, this is like, show some restraint, boys. You know what I mean? What compels you to just put so many camo inspirations into this? The 4 different patterns that it took to make this. Why? Why not just stop at the 3? You're obviously going, you weren't making a piss take pattern. You were trying to outfit a future-esque SEAL team to hang out with a gang of whatever these, what do they call them? Specially enhanced people. Yeah, I loathe this pattern. And for that, I don't know, man. Part of me feels D is too harsh. I hate this more than Street Fighter camo. I'm just going to say it. I can't stand looking at it. It's making me upset. I'm going to put it in D because it's really yuck. It's one of those ones though, if you just looked at this, if I just look at Scott Eastwood here, fully kitted, probably C, maybe even slips up to B. But then, warts and all, under the glaring daylight of a bright sun, revealing all its imperfections and its true hideous nature, I just can't abide that. So I'm chucking him down in D. It's also bothering me now that it's so evenly distributed. But D for now. Let's circle back to it. What's everyone saying? Unalive gang. Looks like the... Oh, yeah, that was the Sui talk. Looks like the bastard love child of T-Block and Flectarn BT. Yeah, sorry, Flectarn. I see the Flectarn in it. BT maybe. No, I hate it. Sorry, disagree, Chris. They put unknown Pokemon shapes on their camo. Overall looks kind of meh, or just not very interesting, says Kuba. Costuming meeting, we can have this pattern, this one, and this one. Which one do you want? Yes. Either too many people working on this camera or just one over-eager and over-caffeinated individual. Yeah, or methamphetaminated individual. Fuck me dead. Dude was smoking da ganja when he came up with this. I'm leaving it in D. Part of me could sympathize and push it to C for, like, it's modern. It looks futuristic, kind of, but it's just ghastly, boys. I'm going to leave it in D for now. Okay, let's delete it and move on. Next up, we have a bit of a silly one. This is not a movie. This is a TV show. Has anyone seen this? Space Force. Okay, I'll also confess, I didn't finish watching this. I don't remember if it even went more than one season. This was a show that I kind of was just floating in and out on. It didn't really grab me by the nuts and keep me locked in. So I think I kind of ended up being a background show for me, the old Space Force that is. But they had, this is funny. This is funny. Look at this. I don't know if you've seen this show or not, but check this out. So, sorry, to be clear, it's a satirical show. Obviously with Steve Carell. It's a comedy, and John Malkovich. You sound exactly like John Malkovich. It's a comedy, right? So they have a piss take uniform, so they get away with it. They're allowed to have it. It's still silly. Clearly, it's silly. Their pattern is fucking the moon with craters in it. But with that being said, it looks kind of cool. Am I wrong? It looks cool in the way that Like the Australian Navy camo looks cool. It's blue and dumb, but still kind of looks cool. This is blue and dumb. It looks cool. As a camouflage, ridiculous, obviously. Obviously. Going for the theme of the film, you couldn't make it any more perfect if you tried. You're making a piss-take show about Space Force, which is an already piss-taken organization in the real world. Or certainly when they first launched. It was seen as like a meme. I'm sure they have a very credible purpose and mission now. But if you're making a comedy show about Space Force, this is the camo you make. Is it going to work anywhere? Probably not. Maybe it would work on the moon. Who the fuck knows? But this is funny, right? So I'm going to give it some points for that alone. This is fucking hilarious. I don't think I'm going to give it too highly. But again, just for the meme value and that they knew what they were doing. I could go B for this. Just for the memes. I'm not going to put it in D because it doesn't make me angry. Like, you can't get angry at this in the context of the show. It's a satire, right? So, oh, this is fucking retarded. Why would you make a camouflage out of comets? Obviously, it's not going to fucking work. That's a stupid argument. You can't let that wind you up about this because it's a comedy show. So D doesn't make sense because it's not trying. Fucking Suicide Squad tried and is terrible. C may be more suitable because of the reasons that it obviously gets sucked down the rating. But I kind of want to go B just because of the memes. I'm going to leave it as B. What's everyone saying? It's too much. I love this TV show. I'm so sad it was cancelled. Absolute banger. Moon camo. S tier for space. Yeah, space tier. True. How many seasons did it run? Was it just one season? I'm leaving it in B. Let's not get too silly. But let us know how many seasons it ran because I can't remember. Space tier. Fuck me dead, boy. Sorry, I'm bloody stammering. Space Force Moon camo. It's going B tier. Okay, next up. Oh, I was scrolled up and I had the fucking tier list off screen. Sorry, boys. 2 seasons. I only saw the one. Okay, next up we have The Tomorrow War. This is a weird one because there's not a whole lot out there on it. Out there, I mean information. Let me pull my reference material in. Is another one over here? What the fuck's out here on the... okay. Yes. So, Tomorrow War starring Chris Pratt again. He's back, boys. They time travel to the future and they fight aliens on Earth in the future. Kind of... I think this was an Amazon. Yeah, Prime Video. There you go. It was decent. Honestly, I'd give it a rewatch. I want to give it a rewatch. Let me make these reference pics bigger. It's not too shabby. But this camo, there's not a lot of info out there, boys. And I dug really hard before making this, getting all these assets for this tier list. There's just not a lot happening. Oh, sorry, let me drag this one into isolation, then I'll delete you. I'm going to make Chris Pratt here a bit bigger. Interestingly enough, the only information on this is there's this Instagram post by the lady, seemingly like the costume department thing on the set of At the Tomorrow War with our dreamy leading men. # cameo of the future designed by me, sweater knitted with the help of the amazingly accomplished at KTO_. Thanks to the entire costume team led by Donna Casey Ada and Kathy Crandall. So they made this custom. The whole uniform cut is pretty sick. This is almost like a rugby shirt kind of thing he's got going on. And there's like a combat one over here. This looks a bit skeezy. Like this looks like a gym kind of crop top thing. Not very cool. And the pattern itself, it's almost like very subdued, almost like they dyed it black or like turned down the contrast on. And this isn't my take. This is the internet's take on this. I saw a few threads or whatever saying this. It looks a bit like pixelated Flecktarn. This right here. This is not the pattern from the film, to be clear. This is pixel Flecktarn. You can see it kind of looks like that, but just in a darker colorway. It's so interesting because, again, this is one where they went to the effort of making this, but it's weird because it's similar to Children of Men in that you don't even notice it. You really don't notice it on first viewing, but then it doesn't really complement the characters or the film or the military force in play or really the film. You know what I mean? So it's underwhelming, which is a shame because I just wish there was more detail of it. I wish there was just a good photo of this shirt and this shirt and these pants like laid out on the floor, so you could appreciate, and then a close up of the pattern too and the colors. But there's not a whole lot of information going around on this, which is kind of going to cost this one points because it's just hard to give it a fair chop without a better photo of it. But it doesn't really, yeah, complement the film. So for this one, I don't know, man. They tried it. Does it fit their narrative? Maybe. But this is also the film that there's that hilarious meme about the guns they used because they've got those ridiculous like 8-inch ARs with that, I don't know what it's called. There's that brand of AR stock that makes it look kind of like a P90. And then they've got that 4X ACOGs on there. The giant muzzle brake. It's just the absurd gun setup for killing the aliens that makes no sense. There's a great like 4chan green text or something on it. Same kind of thing with the camo. Absurd choice of gun that doesn't really make sense for narrative. You could argue the same for the camo pattern, but I won't because I can't see it. But for that reason, I'm going to give it, I think B's fair. B's fair for the effort. They dared to dare, but it just doesn't bring any really value to the film. Like this could have just as easily been multicam black, and I think it would have been just as good in terms of how it weaves into the film. You get what I mean? What do you reckon? It kind of reminds me of Flecktarn Goofy Air Moon Camo. Fucking, oh sorry, we're talking about the Space Force camo. It kind of reminds me of Flecktarn. I read it. Looks more like a dull Flecktarn. I didn't read it. That movie made me mad because their ARs with the stupid Hera arms, that's the one, the Hera arms thumbstock, were obviously ineffective at killing aliens, and only one guy came to the obvious collection that you need a bigger gun. Conclusion, yeah. Underwhelming just like the rest of the movie. Hera arms, the weird furniture on those ARs. Yeah, that's the one. The Hera arms thumbstock. So you guys know that meme I'm talking about? I should find it real quick. Can I pull it up? Will this work? The Tomorrow War gun meme. If it's just an image meme, then I'll try bang it up. But nah, I can't find it. I think it's like a thread from... Oh yeah, it's a big long image. I can't even read it. Anyway, I think B is fair for this, just because it's underwhelming. Okay, boys. Last one. And I'm going to wrap it up pretty quick. As soon as we finish this, I'm going to call it quits. Oh, sorry, I'll give it a check to make sure I'm happy with it. But our last one is Avatar 2, The Way of Water. A bit cheeky leaving this separate. I could have arguably done it with Avatar 1, but I am going in chronological order here. And Avatar 2, uniquely, James Cameron, absolute madman again. Why do I have Corporal Hicks over there? Oh, I saved Corporal Hicks. They made another pattern. Would you bloody read about it? You wouldn't read about it. They made a second pattern for the second movie. Again, points for the narrative or the storytelling. The RDA got their asses kicked on Pandora. They were evicted. They came back however many years later. I can't remember the events between Avatar 1 and 2. Let's say it's like 15 years, something like this. And in that 15 years, they've got a bunch of kit that's improved. You see it in their small arms, their guns, their vehicles have improved. And so it also followed that they upgrade their pattern. The trouble is, I don't think this is an upgrade. I prefer the old pattern, which I've deleted. I shouldn't have deleted, I'm dumb. I prefer the original Avatar Digi pattern. Now, looking at this, what we've got, what's her name? Is this Edie Falco, the actress? I can't remember the character's name. Tony Soprano's wife. This pattern here, this is super duper suitable for a jungle. And I'd feel it would be pretty not controversial to say, I think this would be better in just raw camouflage. If that's the rating, I think you could make a strong case that this pattern that she's wearing is better from a concealment perspective than the avatar pattern in the first one. Narrative-wise, it also makes sense. They change it, they upgrade, they improve. I just don't think it looks as cool as the avatar pattern from the first movie, which is the pixel or the avatar camo. That is way more unique. What they did with the outlined digital cells. This one here looks like, man, I don't know. It could be like a jungle pattern that came about in Vietnam. You get what I mean? It's just it's like tiny ERDL blotches, and it's pretty much just there's more than two colors, but it almost looks like there's only the two predominant colors. There's the dark green and the black. There's that little light green in there as well, just for accents and highlights. But it's really just a two color, we'll say three color, very basic woodland jungle style pattern. Very, very effective, and depends how many points I'm giving them for the storytelling of, we want the best possible camouflage for hiding out people in the jungle. They could max out for that, but this is just personal preference at this point. I don't think it looks as cool as the Avatar 1 pattern, and therefore I can't put it in S tier with Avatar 1, but I will give it A tier for the aforementioned reasons. Very suitable for the jungle, shows progression to their storytelling that they upgraded and improved over time. Just simply not as unique and not as cool as they did in the first Avatar. So I think A tier is fair for this. What do you boys reckon? Strong multicam tropic vibes, 10 out of 10. The Mad Lad has done it again. Still definitely do prefer the original movie though, better drip, I agree. Sorry, just joined and straight to the strange Tiger Stripe multicam blend. Oh, unconventional gear guy. Welcome to the party, pal. Yeah, you've missed a bit of a bloody rock show here. If you've just jumped on a stream now, probably won't make sense without the previous hour or how long I've been rambling's context. Yeah, Avatar 1 had a better looking one, says Raycone Mod. She's so camouflaged I can barely make out the stars on her cap. True. Yeah, I can just see her. She's got her general stars up there as well. In both photos. I think that's fair. Let me delete this. Moving on from Avatar, let me delete that. I'm deleting all the reference photos from around the outside. Round the outside. Let me consult the list and let me see I'm happy with it before I call it a day. S tier, we have, perhaps not surprisingly, James Cameron's masterpieces in Aliens, the United States Colonial Marines camo, and then Avatar. A tier, we have Children of Men. There was a name for this camo too. I've forgot it. I don't think I mentioned it before when I was talking about the movie, but they gave it a specific name. The urban-esque digital British Army camo of the future. The G.I. Joe camo, which they made 3 variants, I'll remind you. So some cost went into that, some thought, certainly some attention to detail. Avatar 2 with a detailed, improved jungle camo, but just not quite as drippy as Avatar 1. B, Return of the Jedi, I think is fair. The Rock, Space Force, fuck me dead. The Tomorrow War. C, Red Dawn, Die Another Day, Jurassic World. I feel Red Dawn in C is controversial, and I'll probably get a few hate comments for it, is what it is, just because I know that this is a very passionate fan base behind the Red Dawn Russian camo. That's fine. It's just not my cup of tea. I don't think it looks sick. I don't think it looks cool. I personally don't fizz for it, right? So I get that people do, which is why I say it will be controversial. But my tier list, my rule. You get it? Yeah, we all have our bloody different opinions. But this is probably the only one so far that jumps out to me as being not mispositioned, because I'm happy where I put it, but I can certainly see people would make a case that this one deserves to be higher up, I suppose is what I'm getting at. Die Another Day, a copy of a copy, North Korean camo. Jurassic World's, yeah, Cryptek, just dyed blue. Street Fighter and Suicide Squad. I'm feeling that meme of, is it Thanos? Perhaps I treated you too harshly. When I look at Jean-Claude's face down here, I feel like guilty. I feel Street Fighter is too harshly done. But then, I don't know. Nah, Street Fighter earned its D rating. They dared to dare in a time when no one was making custom camouflages for films, but they made the most impractical, hideous possible camouflage in a red and blue mix. So I think they deserve their due. They had a chance to be great, and they fucking cooked it. And Suicide Squad, that ghastly put 4 different patterns in a blender and spit it out job, Suicide Squad rightly deserves its D rating too. I think I'm set with this, boys. I don't think I'm going to make any changes. I think I did last time we did a tier list. I came back and tweaked stuff, but I'm pretty confident with this. What's everyone reckon? No 2026 joke movie, pick like a Melania outfit. I haven't seen that. I'm barely up to date with the controversy surrounding Melania's film. Another really good one on the technical level. I don't know if I like it more than just the first one. Avatar. Still probably, Kuba says, still probably going to try and get my hands on a set of those. May require lots of money and possibly price knuckles. Mate, you got to stop bashing people for camo patterns. What are they putting in the water in Poland? He's a bunch of mad cunts. All respect. Polacks are sick. But I can't believe you're punching over for camos. Hobbies hit differently over there. Deserves a D rating when it comes to the movie as well. For Street Fighter, yeah, for sure. Suicide Squad, sorry. Yeah, Suicide Squad, trash. Absolute ghastly. I think I'm happy, boys. Has anyone, my bloody question for the chat, has anyone thought of anything I've missed? That's my question for you dudes. Is there any movie that you can think of that has a custom-made camouflage uniform that is not on this list? Because I don't think I've made any. But like I said, these are only the ones I've seen. I'm not just like chucking out, or to be fair, I don't think you could, there's not like a Google list of every fucking camouflage film made every camouflage pattern in a film. Camopedia, the website, is about the closest. He has a section on camo in film, but I don't think it's got all these. Or maybe it does. Got to get me some of the Return of the Jedi camo smocks. Yeah. Check out Columbia. I would like one too. It's just you've never had a time and place to wear it without looking like a goon. Unless you're actually out in the sticks, that would be good. Wish I could get the gear and uniforms the Marines have in the OG Avatar again peak trip. Yeah, man, the Avpat is sick. Of all the ones on this list, gun to my head, I'm only allowed to get a set of any of these. It's 100% Avatar camo. Hands down. Point blank, period. What else is there? Ray. But then I don't know how great it would be, but a World War II movie camera or 2 on this list would have been neat. But then you may be just asking how well they created historical gear. Orion says, Red Dawn rightfully CT despite the push by YouTubers and makers currently. Yeah, I noticed that. It's got like a newfound push behind it. It's like people are trying to make it popular again. Hey boys, I'm going to wrap it up there and sign off quite suddenly. But thanks everyone who jumped on. Appreciate you all. Appreciate my regulars, Kuba, Ryan. Who else we got here? Just rereading back through chat real quick. The members, of course. Enkalinen. Sorry, mate, I've forgotten your other bloody username there. Thanks to the other boys who jumped on for the first time and everyone who chipped in. Chris, thanks for your contributions. Noted and appreciated, good sir. And boys, I'll see you all on the next one. If you're watching this in the video, thank you for the gift of your time.